You're watching the polls on the JoyNews channel, DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. I am Blessed Sogah, and this afternoon here are our top stories. Chinese businesswoman Aisha Huang accused of illegal mining to spend a few more days in police custody as trials continue over charges that Aisha, together with other accomplices, were mining illegally in the country without license. We'll bring you details. Meanwhile, the Attorney General Godfrey Dami says his fight against illegal mining will continue to the very end.
Indicate to the world our full commitment to prosecute all these illegal mining offences is something that is of utmost importance to the nation. Even though, of course, this lady found herself.
There's more coming up on that as Land and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jinapor is also jumping to the defense of his deputy who's being accused of engaging in illegal mining. We'll hear from the sector minister who says George Mirko-Duka is clean.
The quality of the raw water has deteriorated such that we will have to restore.
And what you've just seen are excerpts of that interaction coming up. You need to brace up to pay more for water in the coming days. The Ghana Water Company Limited says its operations are being adversely impacted by activities of illegal mining. Later this afternoon, we hear from the Chief Executive Officer for the company, Engineer Clifford Brimer. Also, there's more as prices of goods and services continue to soar. We'll hear from the IMF boss, who is urging countries across the world to apply fiscal and monetary measures that will address the hike in prices of goods and services. The Ghana Statistical Service in the next 24 hours will have Isaac Kofi who join us for some analysis and projections ahead of that crucial announcement. Also this afternoon, child marriage is on the ascendancy as the Africa Education Watch is indicating that there are alarming figures as girls aged between 12 and 17 years are already married, living with some people who they do not desire to be with. We'll get details as we mark the International Girl Child Day today. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember, this afternoon, we're streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. Feel free to be a part of the show. I'm Blessed Sogah. Welcome once more to The Pulse. And you're welcome back. We start off with the fight against illegal mining. Chinese businesswoman Aisha Huang, accused of illegal mining, may have to spend a few more days in police custody as trials continue over charges that Aisha, together with her Chinese counterparts, were mining in this country without licenses. This afternoon, of course, there was a part court when both Attorney General Godfrey Dami and Minister for Justice, as well as the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jinapor, stormed the High Court to lead government's effort in the prosecution of Aisha Huang, who's been nicknamed the Galamsey Queen. So let's get more from Kweku Asante, my colleague who's been monitoring events in court for us today. And Kweku, we need to start off with the issue about the proceedings. Why did we first of all see such a high representation in terms of government appointees showing up in court, and what was the purpose really?
Indeed, so it was a bit of a surprise when we saw that the Minister for Land and Natural Resources was in court, as well as the Attorney General. In previous times when these matters have gone to court, we've had only senior state attorneys representing the state. But today the case was different. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources was there, as well as the Attorney General himself, also flanked by some senior state attorneys, as well as a lot of other junior lawyers from his chambers, the Attorney General's chambers. So it was a bit of a surprise. But the inkling we are getting is that this is supposed to send a signal that, listen, this is something that government at the highest level is very much interested in, and government is going to use all arsenal at its disposal to fight through the courts to ensure that persons like Aisha Huang and all other persons who are accused of engaging in illegal mining are dealt with law.
And we know that when proceedings were about to start, that attempt was made again by counsel for Aisha to press home that demand for her release, at least for her to move out of police custody as the trial continued. But we're getting a stern position from the judge who's supervising or superintending over this very matter.
Right. So
what's the position of the judge on that constant appeal from the lawyers of Aisha that she needs to be granted bail?
Right. So now the case has been divided into, it used to be Aisha 1 and 4 others. The Republic versus Aisha 1 and 4 others. Now it's the Republic versus Aisha 1 as a single case. Then there's the Republic versus the 4 other persons, the accomplices. And I'm certain you'll come there. That is where Freddie Blake comes in. So Aisha 1, the Republic versus Aisha 1, was when the case started, there wasn't much of a business to be done today. So the Attorney General indicated that they had filed some 4 witness statements and they were intending to add 4 more. But what they wanted to do was to withdraw the first 4 and file an 8 altogether. So without any opposition, the court allowed that, okay, you can do that. But just when the court was about to adjourn for another date, the lawyer for Aisha 1, Krabia Ifadate, got on his feet and said that he was applying for bail and that he wanted to know if the judge was amenable to considering that plea. But just when he stood up and started making the application, he was shot down. The judge was like, no, calm down. What are you talking about? It was only a few weeks that you came here. You made an application for bail. I refused that application for bail. So why are you making it again? Let me quote exactly what the judge said.
Yeah, that's very important.
The judge said, my mind has not changed. You can make the application and I will still refuse you. That was something that
so that's a clear statement
in court.
Indicating what the position of the court may be moving in the coming days if further
applications for bail are made.
Right.
And so that indication was given that, listen, the accused persons have to come to court all the time. Indeed, when we get to the other case, the judge made a number of pronouncements that show that the court clearly is taking much of a serious stance against.
But even before we get to the other accomplices and what their fates may be, you're treating this as 2 separate cases. So that's it for Aisha Huang. But there was a big surprise also in court aside Samuel Abu-Jinapo, the Attorney General. We're getting to learn that, of course, the immediate past, I need to be describing, the immediate past chairperson of the governing New Patriotic Party was in court today. Right. What was his mission?
So when the proceedings opened for that second case was called, one lady introduced herself as a clever Blay, and that she was holding the brief of the former NPP national chairman, Freddie Blake, just to announce to the court that there's been some change of plans and that when it came to those 4 accomplices, they will now be represented by the former NPP national chairman.
Okay, so his name came up in court.
So he was not present today.
Right.
But at the next sittings, it is clear that Freddie Blake is now taking over the case. That specific 4 accomplices aspect of this case from Krabia Ifadate. Whilst Krabia Ifadate will continue representing Aisha 1, Freddie Blake, NPP national chairman, former, is now about to represent these 4 other accused persons. So a clever Blake was the one who held the brief for Freddie Blake today, clearly because Freddie Blake had to be elsewhere.
And from checks, do we know if this has been done as part of the institutional representation? Well, of course, these 4 others may be operating mining firms who are then retaining the immediate past chairperson of the NPP as their counsel, or whatever the case may be.
So indeed, it is very interesting. We do not know yet what their strategy is for these defense counsels and why they want to do this, why they want to split up these teams and do all that they have to do. But it is clear that, listen, looking at the kind of counsels they are retaining, it is clear how they see this panning out. And if you have a former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, he just left office this year, few months back, representing persons accused of illegal mining. It tells you the kind of inkling that Aisha 1 and the accomplices are getting in terms of the kind of lawyer. So I did put out that question to the Attorney General. He said that, well, Freddie Blake is a lawyer. He's allowed to take whatever case he wants to take. But as far as he is concerned, he's about to give the state that kind of representation, kind of make that forceful case that illegal mining is not something we take kindly to. So let me tell you, when this case was called, a clever Blake tried to make an application for bail as well. This time around, it was flatly refused again. And let me read what the justice said, and that is Justice Lydia Osema. She said, these people are foreigners who do not have sufficient financial or social ties within the jurisdiction of this court. And as we know in this country, people usually do not need any passport to exit if they are minded to leave. And considering the severity of the punishment the accused persons will suffer if they are found guilty, I have sufficient belief that when granted bail, they will not appear before court to stand trial. All accused persons refuse bail and remanded into prison custody until 1st November when
so their case appears to be worse off, even if you are comparing that to what it is that the case may be for Aisha Huang in terms of granting them bail. It's almost an impossible situation right now.
Indeed,
knowing that we don't have any clue about their attachments
to Ghana. Indeed, the judge goes on to say that, listen, these persons have to stand trial. They have to remain in custody until the case is fully disposed of. Maybe the judge may change the position later on, but now the position is that they have to stay in custody. Indeed, she remanded them into prison custody, but the clever Blay made an appeal that it should be changed from prison custody to NIB, National Investigations Bureau. Well, the Attorney General, Godfrey Dami, said he had no opposition, so the judge had to change that decision to now remand them into police custody.
Let's talk about the Attorney General himself. He's fighting to the very end, correct? That's what he's been telling you.
Right. What he is saying is that as far as government is concerned, they're going to use every tool, every arsenal in the laws of Ghana to ensure that persons who are engaged in illegal mining are dealt with fairly and squarely. And that, this is a message, this is a warning to all of you out there still on farms, still on plantations, still engaged in illegal mining. The government is coming after you, and when they get you, they are going to ensure that the laws of Ghana deal with you fairly and squarely. Let's listen.
Well, they've denied it. They've denied it. I mean, if there's any substance to any such allegations, I think the best way to proceed is to conduct investigations. But, well, those are not for me to decide. I mean, I think that the matters are still out play, and the minister has denied it flatly. I have full confidence in the minister in my ministry, and I don't think he will ever be involved in any such conduct. And early days yet, and his officials for this excellent work they are doing. As you may be aware, one of the key pillars on which we are seeking to deal with this issue of illegal small-scale mining is law enforcement and prosecution, particularly as it relates to foreigners. And as you can see, the Attorney General himself was in court, and he himself is conducting this trial and prosecuting this case in a very spirited and enthusiastic manner. I think it helped my work, because when you have an Attorney General who is diligent and who is serious at prosecution and ensuring that all perpetrators are brought to book, I think that is a big boost, and I'm very thankful to him for the work he's doing. We will continue with our efforts on all fronts, on the law enforcement, the reforms, and as well as the prosecutorial path, which we are fully committed to. As you can tell, this Aisha Huang lady, the government of President Akufo-Addo is committed to bring her and other persons who are involved in illegal mining to face the full rigors of our laws in this country.
We indicated our readiness, preparedness to commence the trial. And in respect of Aisha Huang, we had filed most of the documents to be relied on. We had filed witness statements of 4 witnesses. We only needed to file about 4 more. And for that matter, we requested for a week. The judge, of course, in exercise of her discretion, decided to adjourn to 24th or so for us to come and conduct the case management conference. And we are ready to proceed with the trial on the case on a day-by-day basis. And the judge has also indicated the inclination to conduct the trial in that manner. So we are very happy with the progress of the matter. And I think it's very important that we indicate to the world our full commitment to prosecute all these illegal mining offenses. It's something that is of utmost importance to the nation. Yes, even though, of course, this lady found herself back into the country after her indefinite stay that had been granted in 2014 had been revoked in 2018. Yes, we'll prosecute her for both the past and current offenses. I think the most important point for me as a prosecutor is that, yes, she's still kept in custody. Of course, we would have wanted that the trial would be dealt with speedily, because a fair trial implies speed as well. And for that matter, I would have appreciated for her plea to be taken today. But it is not a major setback. We'll have her plea taken on the next agenda date. And the offense with which she's been charged will be dealt with as soon as possible. The Aisha Huang matter, we are ready to start trial, even if we are given an opportunity next week, as we indicated. The judge said we should come back to conduct what we call the case management conference on 24th. And I believe after that we should do it on a case-by-day basis. The other matter has been adjourned to 1st November. I'm sure by that agenda date too, we'll be ready to proceed with the trial of that one as well.
Attorney General's position there. Earlier we heard from the Sector Minister as well.
So clearly, we know that some allegations have been made against Mreku, but first off, the Sector Minister was making the point that his ministry, his outfit is willing to offer all kinds of support to government in terms of fighting illegal mining, in terms of every support it needs with logistics, with also information and everything. They are going to provide that information. But we also know that some specific allegations have been made against Mreku, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Minister. So I put that question to the Honorable Samuel Abujinapo, whether or not this had come to his notice, whether he was going to look into it. Well, his answer was that, listen, Mreku has flatly denied this, and I actually believe him. So there's no point in up to me opening up another investigation. And this matter is still up there. If any persons have some specific evidence linking Mreku to illegal mining, they should provide it. But as far as he is concerned, he fully trusts his deputy that he is not involved in illegal mining.
Quick question to you. Thank you for joining us. In fact, I just want to stay on that story and bring you a statement that George Mreku himself has released, trying as much as possible to explain what it is that the situation may be. So let's bring you a breakdown of the concerns of George Mreku. He says that my attention has been drawn to news publication items by certain media houses on my alleged involvement in illegal mining around the Dompim area in the Takwa Nsoyam municipality in the western region. He then continues to say that I wish to state emphatically that I don't have any links to the activities of any form of illegal mining anywhere. These deliberate false representations made against me by my rival claimants to the Dompim divisional stool are needless, baseless, vain, and unfortunate. And then he goes ahead to explain some more issues, giving us some clear indications that I must indicate that the fight against illegal mining, which is Galamsey, is a Herculean task which cannot be won by just actually pointing figures at leaders, government appointees, and among others, various levels in terms of mining districts with the intent of tarnishing their image for political expediency and selfish parochial interest without any fact. Government is committed to winning the war against illegal mining and is calling on all stakeholders to support government in that regard. I have instructed my lawyers to immediately sue the self-acclaimed chief of Dompim Pepase area, and then he's asking the general public to ignore some of the baseless allegations. Well, his sector minister, Samuel Abujinapo, has been providing some updates on that. But the government appointee himself, who dabbles as the member of parliament for Takwa Nsoyam constituency, is amongst that tall list. He's been providing some more claims in an interview with JoyNews.
And I'm not going to lose focus. I'm so determined. We'll continue to clamp down these miners or illegal miners who are so determined to destroy our country. I mean, we can't allow this nation wreckers to just put up statements just to confuse everybody. Now they just want to demoralize you. You are working hard. You want to make sure water bodies are clean. You want to make sure people get work to do, like establishing community mining. Obviously, become a target. You're doing the right thing, and people will come after you, including, intra and other related political innuendos that you have in the system. They will all come after you, but God is on our side, and we are so determined. We have nothing to hide. Galamsey is not done in a chamber. It's done in open. If Mreku has a concession, be on the concession, show the public where the concession is. I started challenging people about 6 years ago that if you think Mreku has a concession and you have that evidence, show it to Ghanaians. You can't just speculate. He's a miner. As for that, you can easily say so. So if the IGP, for example, is from a community and robbery happens in that community, and because it's an IGP, so nobody should steal from that community. I mean, it may happen. It doesn't matter where he's from. It can. So if Mekuduka is the deputy minister and illegal mining has happened in his hometown, so therefore you think, I mean, let's be realistic, and some of these things, discuss them dispassionately, moving out of politics. You go to other areas that people of high repute hail from. You have illegal mining there. It doesn't mean you can just associate those illegal mining to them. You see, the galamseyers, they do flourish in some of these things because they know that, yes, they are pointing fingers at the leaders. So they get a field day to do their own thing. If we don't stop that, we will not be able to, win this battle. We need to stop that. Let's be practical. Let's get to work. Let's really point to where the challenges are and stop the accusations that are unfounded. If you're accusing someone, you must have that evidence. I was surprised to hear that there's a documentary. Not a shred of evidence was shown. How can you do this?
But the people in the documentary mentioned that you are in support of what they're doing. The boys there, you have boys who are mining.
So those that have been mentioned, we need to provide the opportune assembly for them to come and prove. So I think they should have been pushed. What is the concession? Where is he mining? I mean, you get there and you show all that. But people speculating that he's mining as a member of parliament.
And thanks for staying with us here on the Pulse on the JoyNews channel. When we return, we'll look at how illegal mining is affecting the operations of the Ghana Water Company Limited, plus calls for a thorough investigations into the dealings of George Mekuduka. It's all coming up here on the Pulse. Please stay. We'll be back shortly. And you're welcome back to the Pulse. So let me bring in now Adib Sani. He's a security analyst joining us via Zoom. A lot has happened throughout the day regarding the fight against illegal mining. Adib, and I'm sure that starting off with the Aisha Huang case, you've taken a particular notice about the poster of the judge indicating that all these Chinese nationals may not be freed and that they would have to be in police custody for a few more days or up until the end of the trial, possibly. Before we'll know indeed what their fate will be. How is that coming to you? And also seeing that high representation in court today, does it seem to suggest that government is becoming a bit more serious about this issue against illegal mining? Adib Sani, if you're with us, let me try and put that question to you again. I'm just asking if indeed you've noticed quite a lot happening today in court, starting off with the Aisha Huang case. You've heard what it is that the judge has had to say, and that we may have these Chinese nationals in police custody until the end of the case. What's your take, first of all, on that development? Adib Sani, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Sorry,
well, I'm just asking about
was directed at me. Sorry about that. Okay.
Yes,
Can you come
I was
again,
just asking
please?
about the developments and the fallout we're seeing from the court. At least Aisha Huang and the others may have to be in police custody for a few more days or up until the end of the case itself. How's that development coming to you, first of all?
I think it's a great step. It is only indicative of the seriousness we attached to the case. It brought us international disgrace, so to speak. And we have to prove a point. We, however, have to be careful so as not to paint a certain picture, sort of a face-saving picture, but rather demonstrate unflinching commitment towards ensuring that justice is served. For me, as a Democrat who believes in the rule of law, so far as is within the remits of the law, I think it's good. So we are able to not just ensure that justice is served but also serve notice to any other foreign national engaged in illegal mining that, hey, we are going to come after you and we're going to ensure that you be held accountable. So it is a great step. And I'm hoping that other cases before the court that has to do with foreigners engaged in illegal mining is given that level of seriousness, like I indicated, to serve as a disincentive to others who are erroneously made to believe that Ghana is lawless, and once you have money, you can do anything and be left off the hook.
But then we're also learning that some other political figures are showing up. For instance, the immediate past chairperson of the NPP now will be defending the 3 other Chinese nationals. Do you see this merely as professionalism, or the fact that indeed it's demonstrating the high level of interest in issues of mining, or illegal as it should be?
Well, I mean, I'm a businessman. There are sometimes some jobs that would come, even though you're looking for the money, as a matter of principle, you turn it down. I think strategically, it is a wrong move on the part of the honorable man to represent these individuals, especially considering the controversial nature of this issue, the attention it has garnered both locally and internationally, the pain it has caused to a lot of Ghanaians, particularly those in the mining communities. As a matter of principle, I mean, it should have been turned down. In as much as, man must feed, man must eat. I was listening to, I think I was on the same platform with Captain Nkrabia Fadate, and he was asked, according to him, he's a lawyer, he needs money, but in every field of endeavor, what you put before you, before the money, is some level of principle. So his willingness, his acceptance to defend these 3 other individuals is only indicative of his lack of principle. Period.
But then these people, by right, are also entitled to some form of legal representation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's not doing anything wrong. That is why I'm quite constricted in my, analysis. Before, they have a right to counsel. They are innocent until they are proven guilty. And so what he's doing, there's nothing wrong with it legally. However, like I indicated, whatever we do, principles really matter. And like I told you, sometimes jobs come before me. Let me give you a typical example. I do GPS tracking for corporate institutions, for individuals. There are times people approach me wanting to track their spouses, okay, and they are willing to pay extra for that service. I told them, look, I don't want to be the cause of any marital issue. I do it for security purposes only. But if it has to do with you tracking an individual, that I cannot do. Then I make that business go. But I get other businesses as well, because principles really matter. But if you decide to defend anyone, and considering his stature in, the body politic of Ghana, and certain allegations by some persons in Ghana about political interference and the fact that there are some strong forces behind, even the U.S. ambassador mentioned, that Santahini on countless occasions mentioned that your acceptance of that, might add up to people's suspicions about whether indeed those allegations are true or not. That's why I find it quite unfortunate. So like I indicated, without mincing words, that his acceptance to represent them is only a demonstration of his lack of principle.
Then government is giving that reassurance now through the Attorney General that they'll continue to crack down on activities of illegal mining. If you say that you're not necessarily seeing that zeal, are you then suggesting that not much will be done at the end of the day?
Yeah, you see, I don't believe in talk. I believe in action. It is an incontrovertible fact that one of the biggest challenges with our fight against illegal mining is the lack of enforcement. We have the laws that affect almost every aspect of human life in Ghana, but enforcement is always the challenge. So if we are able to enforce the laws to the latter, oblivion of whoever is involved, its stature in the society, that would help. But like I always say, this issue is multidimensional, and we would need a multidimensional approach to deal with it. Definitely law enforcement is part of it. And as a communication, rather as a project officer, in as much as I care about the input, what really matters to me most is the outcome. In the end, what I want to see is all the efforts translating on the ground. Is the illegal mining activity stopping? But if you arrest people, incarcerate, send soldiers, send police operations, bank operations, this operation, that, yet the mining is still ongoing, it means it amounts to nothing. It means it's zero. All the efforts is in vain. So what I wish to see is something tangible changing on the ground. Okay? And one of it being law enforcement, and the level of interference in the process by powerful persons is also another issue worth talking about. I understand Akunta, mining company belonging to Chairman Wontumi has also embroiled in a certain controversy. I don't know what has become of the case, but we need to address these shortfalls. If not, we are going to find ourselves in a merry-go-round kind of situation, fighting a losing battle, over and over again. That would amount to nothing. And so I think commitment is key if really we want to stop this menace once and for all. And I don't know if you have seen yam being exported from China to, I think, the US or the UK. And I also understand that the Chinese have started producing cocoa. And we are here downplaying it. Oh, China's cocoa can never be like Ghana. Be there. Be there. You will be swamped. You will be overtaken very soon if care is not taken. So we need to get serious about it. The effects it's having on our environment, on the water bodies, or cocoa farms being destroyed, or even communities. Now they've gone beyond the bush. Now they are digging where people sleep, communities just beyond your backyard. Someone is digging. What kind of lawlessness is this? We need to fix the system.
Adib Sani, I want to thank you so much for your time here on The Pulse. So let's put that to a test in our own contest. Joining me now is JoyNews data analyst Isaac Kofi with the latest on our trajectory. So Kofi, a lot is happening in New York, but here in the country as well, we're expecting the Ghana Statistical Service to put out new inflation figures. So let's start off with the trajectory by assessing how policy rates have an influence on the figures.
Right, so what you have on the touch screen now is we're trying to test the effects of the policy rates on our inflation actually. So in the yellow line, or the yellow graph, is actually the policy rate, and then in red is the inflation rate. So you can actually see an upward movement of inflation, and also some stepwise movement in the policy rate as well. So if you look at the current inflation rate, it's around 33.9%, is so high that the IMF is, saying that governments now would have to be very careful when they are applying rates, policies like the monetary policy. So you have to make sure that the monetary policy and the fiscal policy that you are applying as a country, they go hand in hand. Else, one will be stepping on the brake and the other will be stepping on the accelerator. And when that happens, you know that will not, you know, fare well with your economy. But let's test and see the effect of Ghana's, you know, fiscal policy on the monetary policy. What has really happened so far? So we've seen Bank of Ghana, you know, adding some upward adjustment to our, you know, our monetary policy rate, especially because that will help you target inflation. But we've seen inflation running away, you know, if you look at the graph. But because of some of the fiscal, you know, the monetary policy rate that we've actually established at the moment, we've seen inflation not going upward as it's supposed to be. So if you look at the graph, for instance, inflation is supposed to follow this trajectory, but we see inflation rather bending. So in this case, we are saying that, you know, that if our monetary policy rate that, you know, the central bank is setting is actually working, then we are supposed to see some, you know, slow movement in terms of the growth trajectory of inflation this year. And so maybe when the Ghana Statistical Service release the inflation rates, probably tomorrow or any day this week, we want to see the inflation figure actually coming down, or even if it's going up, you know, the rate at which it is increasing should be decreasing, Blessed.
But then, in terms of likelihood, what are we to expect tomorrow?
Well, so tomorrow, just look at the rates. It's now 33.9%. And the last time when we did the projection with a margin of error of about 5%, we projected it to hit somewhere around 34, sorry, and it's 33.9. And so if my projection with the time series data that I have in my repository will be right, then probably we'll be hitting probably 40%. 34%, you know, maybe tomorrow, but we're actually projecting that the rate at which inflation will be increasing should be at a decreasing rate. At this point, we want to see the figure or the values, you know, plateauing so that we can actually have that constant movement, and then hopefully it will be followed by a downward trajectory before we even get an IMF program.
Is there a ripple effect on our currency?
The currency is actually affecting the upward movement in inflation that we're seeing currently. This is because there's a direct linkage between exchange rates and inflation. This is an economy that is open to, you know, import and export, and so you have, you know, traders in your economy demanding for dollars to import goods from elsewhere. And then now you heard the MD of the IMF saying that the war in Ukraine and then also COVID-19 is actually making things very, you know, difficult for developing economies. What am I saying? Developing economies now have to battle, you know, the monetary policy tightening being done by, you know, the US government. So what US government is doing right now is because they are seeing a rise in their inflation rate. So they are doing what we call monetary policy tightening. They are trying to mop up the available dollars currently in the system, and this is affecting us as a country because we need the dollars, and US is trying to mop it up. And so available dollars for our economy is going to go down. Just like we saw yesterday, demand for dollars has outstripped supply by more than, you know, 72 million, you know, dollars as we see. And so this is having a toll on inflation. For the fourth time or fifth time in a row, we're actually seeing foreign inflation, you know, being more than, you know, domestic inflation. So Blessed is foreign driven, and then we are hoping that tomorrow, or hopefully tomorrow, when the Ghana Statistical Service release the inflation figures, we don't go more than 42%.
Okay, still there's going to be an increase. Anyway, thank you for your time, Isaac Kofi AJ, data analyst with the Joy Research Desk. Well, the Ghana Water Company is also warning that there may be a hike, definitely in terms of the prices, because consumers may be forced to pay more for water supply across the country due to, this time round, activities of illegal miners. Chief Executive Officer of the company, Dr. Clifford Brimer, explains that it is becoming more expensive to treat water due to the high turbidity levels in the sources where they get them for treatment. Just this week alone, the Water Resources and Sanitation Ministry inspected some of the river bodies across the country. Here's a report and an update on the situation.
The Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abnadapa, has been visiting some mining communities in the Ashanti region to assess the state of water bodies. The rate at which water bodies are losing wholesomeness due to illegal miners remains a major concern. The Ghana Water Company Limited is facing a reduction in volumes of water treated and supplied to customers as a result of pollution of water sources by illegal miners. The company says it continues to incur extra costs to treat and supply water to its customers. Engineer Clifford Brymer is managing director of the Ghana Water Company.
Under normal circumstances, if you treat it, you should throw away 5%. But because of the high level of turbidity, in some of the cases, we throw up to 50%. And so instead of throwing 5% and having 95 liters to supply to the people, you are rather throwing 50 liters away. So the 45 liters, how are you going to account for it? That will continuously cause what you normally would call rationing, and we will call demand management. Because if you don't do that, you will not be able to serve everybody. So the costs are in several folds. Our machines will have to be stopped and maintained more regularly than before. And so the shutdowns are becoming so frequent. Anytime you shut your plants, people are not getting water. That's what it means.
The water company is currently burdened with spending huge sums of money on chemicals to treat high turbidity levels of water at various extraction stations. The Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources expects all relevant ministries to join forces to chase out galamseyers.
It's an ongoing exercise. We'll go region by region to find out what is happening to our water bodies. We are the sector responsible for our water bodies and water resources. We came to meet the chiefs, and they have cordially welcomed us, and they have also given us food for thought that if possible, we should have task forces in all districts. And I took the advice, and I want to also propose to my colleagues, other sector ministers, who are jointly responsible to chase out this menace of galamsey, to look at that every town, village should have its own task force.
Meanwhile, over 20 persons have been arrested in connection with activities of illegal mining at Atwimamponia. The district chief executive for Atwimamponia, Isaac Kofi Mafo, says the assembly is not relenting on dealing with illegal miners.
Apompom Hene called to tell me how they caught two people. I called the police commander. Fortunately, they responded quickly. The two have been remanded for 2 weeks. Ntontoma Hene also helped me along with the soldiers. We were able to arrest 7 people who are currently on remand.
For Joy News, Anita Sewa Ajogan reporting.
Well, earlier today, I caught up with the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Water Company Limited, Dr. Engineer Brian Clifford, where, of course, I put a few questions to him. I started by asking him how and if, indeed, the water company was at the brink of shutting down due to activities of illegal miners. Engineer Clifford Brymer, thank you for talking to Joy News. We do know that the Ghana Water Company Limited, together with its stakeholders and even the supervising agency, the Ministry for Water Resources and Sanitation, you've been on a tour to some communities in the Ashanti region following reports that turbidity levels of the various water bodies, and which definitely serves as the source for your operations, are at risk of affecting what you do, your core service of delivering quality water and potable water to the entire nation. After that visit, what's your impression of how close or otherwise you are to shutting down your operations as a result of the surge in activities of illegal mining?
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity. We visited, myself and the sector minister, It's a regular feature of the ministry. Annually, the minister takes time to go around to look at how our operations are going and then to look at how our installations are actually functioning. And so this time we went to Eastern region and Ashanti.
Oh, so it wasn't just the Ashanti region?
No, not just Ashanti.
Right.
So Eastern region and Ashanti region. For Shatton, we are not there yet. We are not closer. But it does not mean that the problems are not building up. And if you are running a utility like Ghana Water Company, whose systems are already very old, you must take maintenance more seriously. And if you want to take your maintenance more seriously, anything that affects the operations of the machine should be of serious concern to you. Because the pumps are designed to extract or abstract fresh water. But the level of turbidity that we have now, you don't call that water fresh water. And our systems are not wastewater plants. And so the impellers are not made to push water off that grid level.
We'll talk about the implications shortly, but I'll be interested in you painting that picture to us as to what is at stake now, having looked at the quality of the river sources which you extract water from to then supply to the nation.
Yes, it means it takes more activities and processes to be able to get the level of quality that we want to the consumer. And what we also notice is that even along the rivers, where the communities we visited,
right,
a lady was frying fish, and I thought they got the fish from the river. That was imported fish to the community, where ordinarily they should have been getting fish. So that's the level. So there's no aquatic life in the river bodies. And so that's the other side of it. But for us, the turbidity, we have to do a lot of processes to get water that we even need to send to the consumers. So it's deteriorated to a level of unacceptable. You can just grade it as unacceptable level.
Some would say that's a generic statement, so try and narrow it down to some of the red zones or flashpoints, if we could use that word for them. Have you mapped out the areas, knowing that you've been in the Ashanti region and the Eastern region? Well, which of these areas come on top of the list, and which of them are you taking immediate actions on?
All the rivers that we visited have gotten to the bad level. And so this time there's no prioritizing them and taking action. You must take action across. We visited Bonsu. It's terrible. It is terrible, and you don't expect citizens to do that to themselves, because we are not dying tomorrow. We are not dying today. And there's the need for us to think about the years ahead and the kind of challenge that we are building up for ourselves. We even visited the chiefs when we got there. They are worried. And they tell you that there are Burkinabés, there are Malians, and other foreign nationals. And that is where you see why that turbidity levels are. Because you can't imagine a human being who depends on water, that kind of water, destroying that water. It is people who probably come there temporarily and they're off, so they don't care what they leave behind. And that is the reason why the communities must join hands with government to ensure that this thing is stopped immediately. There's no time at all for us to wait.
We'll talk about the stakeholder engagements, particularly with the chiefs. But in terms of your operations, I'm interested in getting that true picture of what normally happens when you have to process water which has no aquatic life, as you're telling us, and how much of a cost it is becoming for the Ghana Water Company Limited. What process do you take this through I mean, these polluted river bodies
yes.
through, in trying to get the finest possible in terms of potable water to supply to various communities across the country?
The normal conventional treatment plants, you have the raw water, that's where the river is.
Right.
You abstract the water, get it into your ponds, if you use the word, and then you put chemicals to a level that can get all the sediments and then the other suspended materials
out of it. Right.
Then you have a clean water. Then whatever that is left becomes waste, so you throw it out. Then the clear water goes through further processes where you disinfect at the last minute and then push it into the system. The challenge now is the systems, when you are designing them, you look at the demand of the community for a number of years, sometimes 30, 40 years, because of population growth. And then you say that in the next 40 years, in the next 20 years, the population will be at this level, and activities would have increased, and then the consumption will increase. And so you project for the life of the system.
Right.
And when you are treating the water, you are expected to throw away 5% process loss. And that's the normal thing that we do.
Right.
And so you always have a 95% water, clean water to sell to you.
Supply, right.
But this time, some of the stations were doing up to 50% losses.
Up to 50% losses.
50% losses. Before you can even get the 50%, you either will have to use a more expensive chemical, like if you go to Konongo,
right.
Now, instead of using aluminium sulfate, we are using the polyelectrolyte. If you go to Odaso, we are using polyelectrolyte, not aluminium sulfate. Aluminium sulfate is cheaper than the polyelectrolyte.
Okay, so that's what you used to rely on.
Yes, we used to rely on aluminium sulfate.
But now the demand has risen.
The quality of the raw water has deteriorated such that we will have to resort to expensive chemicals. And going for this sort of dosing at lesser amounts, you have to dose at higher levels. What it means is that if you take a drum of electrolytes, instead of probably taking a month, you can do that for maybe 2 weeks.
Right.
So you are consuming more than you should. And it means that there's increase in cost.
And yet, even when you process, you are just getting 50%.
Exactly. So if you take, for illustration's sake, take 100 liters and say that each of your customers, that the 100 customers that you have, is an assumption.
Right.
A day, their demand is 1 liter. So if you have 100 people, each of them is going to have 1 liter. Now you've processed it because of deterioration, and you can only get 50 liters. And it's the 50 liters you are pushing into
the same system.
And the demand of the people is 1 liter a day. So you can only serve 50 people. The rest of the 50, what do you do to them? They will either stay without water till the system improves, or you have to adapt an innovation into it to say that, look for containers. If I give you today, tomorrow you are not going to get. So store for what you will be using tomorrow.
And that's the greatest fear now, that it appears that's where we are, a point at which your company may be forced to ration water across the country.
Because the volumes are reducing. The volumes, the process losses are increasing. And so the volumes left for us to push into our pipes are reducing. And once they reduce, there's nothing you can do than to say that you are going to block the communities, give these people today, give this tomorrow. So depending on the size of the plant, depending on the population of the community, you will have to program yourself in such a way that you have water going to people at a particular period of the week, and then the other periods, no water. And that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is that you are using more chemicals to treat that. And we cannot add that increase in cost over the less volume of water. Because PURC takes time to review our tariff.
So you have that legal impediment.
Exactly. You are doing a business that you do not have the capacity to change the price as and when you think parameters have changed. You cannot do that. So you still have to wait for a third party who is not into your business to now say that, okay, we are moving it to this level. Whether it is to the level that you require to be efficient or not, that is not what we do. And
so you may be making losses as a result of this illegal mining.
We might not be breaking even. And that's why sometimes when they come and say Ghana Water Company is making losses, I normally will look into your face and ask you, the journalist, was Ghana Water Company set up to make profit? If we were set up to make profit, then we would have been asked to determine our price.
And that has always been a controversial statement. You've been taking on that a lot. Many say that, well, you look at your system. Statistics indicates that about 40% of the losses you're making have got to do with non-water resources as well. Non-revenue points as well. That argument has been made. So when you say, well, we've not necessarily been set up to make proceeds, some say it's all your fault due to the fact that you're not handling affairs properly.
The fact of the matter is that you are holding the company in trust for Ghanaians. It is Ghanaian company. It is not Clifford and Sons Limited.
Right.
It's Ghana Water Company Limited. And so whoever is receiving your product should think about the survival of that company. And so the non-revenue water, some of them are not fiscal losses, they're commercial losses. If you sit in your home and allow another person to tap on your line illegally to his home, he's taking the water that cannot be measured by Ghana Water Company.
Right.
And there are some of them that people know. The citizens are aware. Why are they not reporting? And in some jurisdictions, the losses are spread over everybody. If I need 10 cedis to produce the 100 liters of water, if now I'm making 50% losses, now I will need 20 cedis to give you the 50.
In fact, we'll talk about some more measures you're rolling out in the future to check some of these points at which you make losses. But back to the issue about illegal mining and its effect on your operations. The standard practice elsewhere is that your watersheds or places where you get the source of water then to process and then supply are treated as purely security zones. How come that's not the case for the Ghana Water Company Limited? A reason for which you have infiltration coming through by this illegal miners.
Security zones. There's a missing link in all the processes. There is mineral commission,
right,
and there is water resource commission,
right.
And so the mineral resource commission is the one that licenses the miners, and then the water resource commission is the one that protects the water resource. And so there are two different things, two different agencies. Some of these things that affect the water. How critical have we found the role of water resources? There are buffers by law that is supposed to help protect our water bodies. 100 meters from any water resource, you are not supposed to do anything. How are we abiding by those resources? Water resource itself, are they well empowered, resource-wise, technological-wise, to be able to protect the resource as much as we want? So you have an agency that is supposed to monitor. It's people call Ghana Water Company anytime there's this problem.
Yeah.
We are clients of Water Resources Commission, and so we pay abstraction charges.
So are you then suggesting that in this whole conversation, when it comes to the fight against illegal mining, you have absolutely no role to play? Is that the suggestion, that it should just be left to the regulators? Because you're the ones taking the water from the source, so you should deploy as much security you want to all the areas of your operations. Why are you failing to act, Mr. Brimer?
That is not our role. And some of the
but it's affecting your operations.
Exactly, but that is why that's division of labor. And each agency has a role to play. What we can do is to measure the turbidity levels and report the turbidity level to our ministry. Water resources will measure the turbidity levels and report to the ministry. And the ministry will take it up with national security. The national security will go. Even our own treatment plants. We went to Dabuase, just very close, and also Odaso, right, very close to the intake. The Chamfans were there.
Oh, you've seen them?
Oh, yes. And when staff go there, they threaten them with gun.
You mean the illegal miners threaten your workers?
Yes, with impunity. And so all you can do is to report that to the agencies responsible for that. Then they come in and get them off. But for us, what are we going to do?
Having interacted with the workers there, are you getting a sense that they are seeking to retreat from operating in some of these areas where they are being threatened? Do you get that sense from the workers?
They will not want to, but when they are threatened, they just leave them.
They leave the operations.
Exactly.
Right.
No, they stay there, do their production operations, whilst the miners are doing it. But they signal us who now talk to the security to get them off. Recently, it happened at Odaso, where Obuasi get their treated water from. Right. Yes. And so the agencies are different, their rules are different. In some countries, all water establishments are really considered as security zones, and there are armed security across. In that case, nobody could threaten another person with arms. Probably at worst, we will just be on the same.
But for now, that's the fate your workers are facing on the grounds. Exactly. So, having done the store, have you mapped out some of the areas and strategies, possible strategies that you would want to use in dealing with these persons?
Oh yes, because a report is being prepared. We'll give it to the ministry. The ministry will now take it up at the cabinet level. They discuss with cabinet, and it becomes a government decision or national decision that can be implemented across board. But we think that all the agencies must get onto the phone, and we must collaborate with each other, because the effect of one activity affects the other. So if we don't do it together, we might not be able to get the solution that we really need.
So what are some of the key recommendations you're putting across in that document?
Oh, the recommendation should be that we should restore our buffer zones, that nobody should be allowed to come closer to the water bodies to do anything, so that we have even farming. It's not supposed to be done, because the buffer is the one that takes care of, even if they are doing the mining far away, 100 meters sometimes is enough to clean the water into some level before it gets into the river. And then the sedimentation process within the river bed can also help let some of the sediments settle. And so that can help solve some of the problems. That's one of them. The second recommendation is that they should just deploy, as a matter of agency, the security across the country.
So you want that scaled up?
Oh yes, so that they can get everybody off.
How soon would you want that to happen?
If it's today, that would be better. We need it yesterday, not even today.
There's this story that came up about the Channel area enclave. I'm sure that you've heard about that, Kunta mining and its activities, which is having some impact on the watershed there. Have you been to that area as well?
Oh, I think the Kunta one, they're talking of the forest.
Yeah.
It's the forest zone.
Right.
It's the forest zone, and we haven't gone to Western region yet.
You haven't been to Western region yet. So you are not able to tell the impact on the system. On your system and also the river bodies. But do you intend to do that? I mean, in the face of Distraction for Gold, which was a JoyNews documentary, highlighting the impact of some of these activities on water bodies there. Are you likely, or are you planning of heading to the Western region? You've done Eastern and the Ashanti region. What's your next step?
Oh, the next step is a countrywide plan that we've had.
So you're heading to the Western region?
We'll be going there with the minister.
What's the timeline for some of these activities?
Let's look at the calendar. But there is a national program that we set up to do, and even go as far as the north to check. Some of them is not illegal mining, but some is sand winning that is affecting the water body. If you go to Tamale, that is sand winning that affects us, especially during the dry season. And so we'll be visiting all those places.
You've been engaging our traditional leaders as well in this whole issue of trying to deal with illegal mining and its subsequent effect on water supply across the country. You've identified the chiefs as one of the critical stakeholders that will be very much needed in terms of the way forward and how to effectively tackle the problem. What's the extent of engagement going on between the Ghana Water Company Limited and stakeholders, as well as our traditional leaders as well?
I think His Excellency the President showed the way, because by meeting the National House of Chiefs and discussing the issues in detail with them, we are just following up on that. So the minister is taking it upon herself. Wherever that we go, there is more like a community deba, where the chiefs are there. If there is no deba, then we call on the chief at the palaces, and then to have discussion with them as far as the Galamsey is concerned. And we normally will visit the sites, see the problems, then come discuss with them. And to be frank with you, the chiefs are aware of the damage being caused to them. Sometimes they are just helpless. And that is why this engagement will give them additional courage to be able to help.
So if they're helpless, how do you intend to bring them in to feed into that general
it's through collaboration. That anytime the security are there, the chiefs are aware, maybe they have a rep with them in one of the communities. One of the chief was part of the task force that was stopping the Galamsey and then taking off the chamfans from the water bodies, which is commendable. Yes. And I think we should extend it enough and give them additional powers to be able to do some of these things. Especially that they have data on who, especially when we go to Osino.
Right.
The chief indicated he had a register.
Oh, he did?
Which house there's a miner, which place there is a stranger. So they know. And once you have this, it's very easy for the security to flash them out. And so when we engage the chiefs to do some of these things, I think it will help.
But some say the chiefs as well are complicit, so don't work with them. You've heard that argument as well.
But they've also come to say, no, they are not. And so if you have the proof, like one of them said, you bring it up. It might not be everybody. And so we cannot put all of them together and then give the same judgment on them. Let's pick them out and then let the people who are doing it be known. But for us, they are more useful to the fight than anything other person would say. They are more useful to making sure we get these things under control.
And the president is giving his marching orders, clearly indicating that he won't shield any of the DCs if they go ahead to engage in illegal mining. And I'm sure that you've taken cue from there as well. What do you intend to do going forward in terms of your engagement with the various local assemblies? Because the belief is they also work with the assembly members of the various areas. So in terms of decentralizing that sensitization, you'd be working faster if you deal with these local authorities.
Wherever that we went, the municipal chief executive or the district chief executive was with us, the coordinating director was with us, the senior district officers, the police commander, they were all with us. And so in all these movements, we've been with the local authorities. In a particular area, the assemblyman was very instrumental in the activities. Even the unit committee members came around. And so everybody wants to be involved, and we must give them that opportunity to join the fight so that we were able to stop this as quickly as possible. I wish you would have gone to some of the sites to see what is happening. You will ask yourself whether Ghanaians should do this thing to ourselves. That's why...
That was your personal reflection?
Exactly. So that's why I always think that probably the foreigners are doing more damage to us than the Ghanaians themselves, because if you know the source of water for your community is this, why will you go into it to get it destroyed? The cocoa farmers will use the water to wash their cocoa beans when they are taken out of the sea. Where are they going to get the water? Some people, their business is to go there, catch fish, and sell. Today, there's no fish. So what are those people doing? And so
and it's instructive that you're noting that, I mean, in fact, all across, all the water, I mean, areas that communities that you visited, the riverine areas, there's no aquatic life too.
No. There cannot be. At the level of turbidity, you cannot. Oxygen is minimal.
So, Mr. Brown, in all of this, the belief is that we're in a crisis. Is that the personal assertion you're having about all of this?
Is it about me or about everybody? I think the thinking should be for everybody, not just because I head the water company. It should be my personal judgment or concern. Like yesterday, I was listening to a radio station where they were making fun that a student or people was wondering whether what the teacher was teaching them about what the characteristics of water was true. Because the characteristics of water says water is colorless, but this particular one is like tea with milk. And so how can it be water? And so we are all seeing it. And we know that, look, the water has moved from the level that we know to a different level. And people who have lived longer at those communities knew how the water looked like. Sometimes when you are going to farm, you take water from the river and go. They can no longer do that. They cannot.
What would you say to someone who walks up to you to say this whole fight against illegal mining is not feasible and that we are beyond repair as a nation? What would you say to such a person?
I'll tell the person that's not true. It can be stopped. It can be repaired. If Ghanaians stand up and see that enough is enough. Let's take Takoradi for example. Let's assume the turbidity levels of the river Pra there becomes, it gets to a level where our machines cannot pump. And for 2 weeks, water is not coming into the community. What do you think the community will do? And then the Ghana Water Company tells them that it is because the turbidity levels are high, the machines cannot draw the water. What will they do? Because they have no other alternative, apart from those who are privileged to have boreholes. And if you want to subject the boreholes to the kind of draw that we will have when there is no water in the system, I'm sure they will all run out of water. So what?
And feel free to watch a playback of that interaction with Dr. Clifford Brimer on all of our social media handles and also online at myjoyonline.com. But for now, it's time to talk about the National Science and Maths Quiz. Bishop Eman College at Chimota School, Nandom Senior High School and the Dujemfi SHS have all qualified for the 1/8 stage of the National Science and Maths Quiz. It was all tears for the students of the Ibri Girls School after they were handed a painful defeat by the Edu Jemfi Senior High School. At the end of the contest, Edu Jemfi SHS had 4 points, Ibri Girls 24 points, and Sefi Yosu SHS coming through with 10 points. I should say that Edu Jemfi actually led with 41 points, beating Ibri Girls to it. They had 24 points. So here's a wrap of all the activities happening on this day by my colleague Maxwell Agbagba. Just before we get all of that action happening in Kumasi, thankfully, members of Primetime team are joining us in studio. We have Samuel Nate Ajo, who is an Associate Client Service Director, Primetime Limited, and also Mrs. Ms. Na Dede Hesse, Director of Administration and Assistant Lecturer at Accra College of Medicine. Their outfit is also a sponsor of this year's National Science and Maths Quiz. So let's start off with the Accra College of Medicine. Ladies first, so yeah, it's fair for us to start off. Why did you decide to partner the National Science and Maths Quiz this year?
So as part of our social corporate responsibility, we've been doing this sponsorship with Prime Time for a few years now. We actually have 3 students in ACM who were from the National Science and Maths Quiz. The first one is in his 6th year, the second one is in his 5th year, and the third one is currently in his 1st year at the Accra College of Medicine. So we thought we should do this just to give people the opportunity who may not otherwise have had the opportunity to go to medical school and may not be able to afford it, this opportunity. Yes, that's why.
Well, the competition has started. I'm sure that you all have expectations. Samuel, for you, how has it been going so far?
Well, thank you once again for having me. It's been exciting so far. As usual, we're having surprises, just like we witnessed today, where Eligent beat Ebri girls. Unfortunately, girls were in tears. Yeah. It's been quite exciting so far. Yesterday, we also had some surprises. Sakefia Islamic SHS, and then Amenian Pond SHS, their first time as a national championship, were able to win their contest to qualify for the 1/8 stage. And I believe that we're going to experience a lot and see a lot more surprises, and it's going to be really fun and exciting.
And for the Accra College of Medicine, of course, the issue about STEM has come up. How does that fit into the vision you have there and some of the programs you're running?
Okay, so Accra College of Medicine is an only medical college, so we only run medicine. Right. And as you know, science, STEM is actually at the basis of medicine. So without science, you can't continue to do medicine. So it really ties in perfectly. Yes.
So that's part, I guess, of the reason for which you want to be part of this.
Yes.
Your personal impression about what's going on so far?
I mean, I'm excited. Every year, we always have new entrants, and they're always unexpected, people who emerge beating the well-known schools. So this year we're looking for more exciting contests.
And more surprises.
Yes, and more surprises, definitely.
But Samuel, we're hearing that one school has actually opted out of the competition.
Yes, that's TI Kumasi. This year we introduced something that's a new thing, where schools who were runners-up at the regional qualifiers, who were able to make 40 points and above, were given another opportunity again, because we felt that coming up with that kind of scores means that they know what they know, they have the wherewithal to stand whatever storm that comes to them and surmount that challenge. So we felt that, look, why not bring them on board again to give them another try, another chance again, because they, on merit, we think they deserve it. So TMS happens to be one of those schools who got that opportunity. But unfortunately, when the information got to them, they had already dispersed their team. And so getting them together and to prepare them was a bit difficult for them. That's why at the last minute, they were hoping that they could do something. But unfortunately, they try their best, but they don't want to so-called disgrace themselves. So they had to bow out from the competition.
Well, I'm personally sad for them because they'll be missing out on that great package from Accra College of Medicine. You are, for instance, giving out a full scholarship of about 6 years.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. So TIMS is missing out on it.
Yes.
But tell us about the opportunity that those who may win, emerge victors, right, will be benefiting from your college.
All right, so the scholarship package is full 6 years tuition, which amounts to $75,000 for the full 6 years. Which includes books and tuition. So yes, that's what we're offering.
So that's a package you have for them.
Yes.
Is it that you're giving that to everyone who gets to the final stage, or what are the terms for that?
Okay, so going to medical school is not easy. So we actually do an interview process, and we pick out the best out of them. For this year, we have decided not only to look at those who are going to the finals, but we're going to start looking from the 1/8 stage.
It's starting right from there.
Yes, so anyone who is interested in going to medical school and qualifies for the 1/8 stage up to the finals has a chance of taking part in being in Accra College of Medicine.
I feel like being a doctor already.
To add to what the DJ said, last year we had one of former contestants who enrolled at the school, and it's called Della. He was not part of, let's say, the finalists. He was not part of the final, but from reports I'm hearing, he's now tutoring his colleagues.
Oh, yes. He's very good. He was from Joji Penny.
Okay.
And he actually came in school, I think, a little later than all his colleagues. But he's now the tutor of the class. He's doing extremely well. He's above, everyone in his class. And we're very happy to partner with Primetime in the NSMQ because of this. And these are some of the reasons and some of the things that excite us.
And I'm sure that there will be more success stories after this year's edition. But Samuel, the issue about the safety of the students, knowing that this is all happening in the era of COVID as well. So what's happening in camp?
Yes, in as much as we've been asked to relax a bit some time ago, President, we have decided not to relax one way or the other because it's important to take that precaution, and therefore we have all the safety measures in place. I'm adhering strictly to the COVID safety rules. So whoever visits the place, whoever comes to watch, whoever comes to participate, we ensure that you are part of the process and ensure that you keep yourself safe, then so the other person can also be safe. So all the safety measures are in place to make sure we are all safe.
But for the National Science and Maths quiz, the euphoria is always on. So how is the public actually receiving some of these guidelines you're putting
Well,
in place?
they understand. They appreciate what we're trying to do because they know at the end of the day we all want each and everyone to be safe. So they understand. But I mean, when it gets to a certain point, the euphoria and then how all students and the students, how they behave. But in as much as it happens, we do well, try our best to make sure we do what we have to do best.
And then for my surprise this year, it was about the Afrocentric approach you're giving to the tune itself. What's the idea behind it?
Well, the tune, original tune, it's not Ghanaian. I mean, it's a very difficult thing for me to mention. I can't mention it, but then we felt that, look, it's about time we give
we bring it home.
the traditional or national outlook, and therefore, why don't you try to introduce something that's more identical to Ghana and for that matter, the youth, so that they can resonate with it. So that's why we came up with this beautiful tune, and everyone is loving it to the max.
But what should we expect next? Of course, some of the contests are happening now, but beyond the 1/8 stage, what should we expect?
Surprises. Surprises and exciting moments. For me, I previously, some time ago, we were able to predict a school who can win, who we believe can win. But for some time now, it's very difficult to pinpoint a particular school that, this school can get into the semi-finals or can win a contest. Because Science and Maths has become a level playing field. It's about you and what you can do. And so there are going to be surprises. There's going to be a lot of excitement and fun.
I tell you what, Bishop Herman College is winning this year. But anyway,
the girls need to take it this year.
I know, you're empowering the girls. So what's your expectation, really, Nandi, as well?
I mean, I'm also hoping that this year, the surprises will come up, but I'm hoping that a girls' school will reach the finals and even take the cup. I went to Wesley Girls, so I'm cheering for Wesley Girls.
We'll see about that.
Yes.
A lot of, surprises. Everybody's already going home. We are praying they go home early so we don't get to meet them. But that's your expectation, that Wesley Girls will win. But from the Accra College of Medicine, what's your message to also contestants for this year's National Science and Maths Quiz?
All the best. Science, we're proud of all of them. It doesn't matter where. The fact that you've been able to come this far means that you are good. And you shouldn't rest on your oars. All the best. Keep on reaching for the skies because we know you can do it.
Samuel, and your sponsors, you can't do without them.
Yeah,
so let's acknowledge them.
So I want to say a big thank you to the Ghana Education Service, who are the main sponsors. And of course, in partnership with Absa Bank. And then JoyNews for all their efforts. And then we have Goyle, Prudential Life, Eta Tigo, Dano Milk, GNPC, Accra College of Medicine, Academic City, Newmont Ghana, and YFM. For all those who are also trying to get on board, because it's fun to be part of the National Science and Mastery Train. If you don't get on board, I'm sure you miss out a lot. So.
Well, the fun is all starting, but thanks to Samuel Nati Ajo, an Associate Client Service Director, Primetime Limited, and also Ms. Nadide Hesse, Director of Administration and Assistant Lecturer at the Accra College of Medicine. Thank you for joining us. But we need to acknowledge some of the partners for the 2022 National Science and Maths Quiz. Of course, it's produced by Primetime Limited and sponsored by the Ghana Education Service in partnership with APSA Ghana. Now, the broadcast of the National Science and Maths Quiz on JoyNews is supported by Virtual Infosec Africa, Virtual Security. We also do have Vitamilk, Cowbell, and we have Enterprise Life. Fatex Toilet Roll is also supporting Ace Medical Insurance, Azar Group. We do have Kings Group Limited and Family Health Medical School, DBS, COBA, and we have that's Loom Trust from Pharma Trust. That's a product that you also need to be on the lookout for. Thanks to all these partners for supporting the 2022 National Science and Maths Quiz. But that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. With me, Blessed Sogah. Do log on to myjoyonline.com. We'll see you next time. Next, it's Let's Talk Showbiz.